Hello and welcome to another episode of Movie of the Week. Today we are talking about the American Society of Magical Negroes. Long title, but it was one of the new movies out this week, and we want to discuss it, take a look at, if it's a good film or not. Angelina went and saw it, so we'll talk about that. We will also get into its Rotten Tomatoes score, what are the critics saying, and then we'll talk about the box office performance. It's a small movie. Well, I don't think anybody ever expected it to do terribly well, but we'll talk about like just how well or not well it is doing at the box office, and then I'm sure we'll get into some other conversations. Ghostbusters is coming out soon, so we'll get into all that and so much more. And to do that today, as always, I've got with me Angelina. How are you doing
Hi
today?
guys. I'm good. How are you today? Dan? Hello?
I'm
Hello?
doing quite well. Sorry.
I was like,
I think
Dan?
my
Anything?
audio went out. But yeah, no, I'm doing quite well. It's been a fun few days. I took a few days off, relaxed a little bit,
That's
getting back
good.
in the swing of things. So yeah.
Yeah, we both were talking beforehand. We were like, I'm tired today. I feel like today is one of those days where, and I feel like everyone I have come into contact with is tired. Like it's that
Yeah.
part of the year where everything's moving very fast right before everybody takes a break and goes on summer vacation, or spring break is
Yeah.
coming up. I think my friend's spring break is next week. So just the
Nice.
time of the year.
That it is, absolutely. And it's that time of the year where we don't have a lot of big movies coming out just yet. Although, we have had Dune come out. There is
Mhm.
that Godzilla times Kong: The New Empire coming out, and of course you've got the Ghostbusters movie coming out in a
Well,
week.
and Kung Fu
Actually,
Panda is killing it, isn't it?
Kung Fu
See?
Panda 4 is killing it.
Jack
It
Black,
it had
he's been gone for a while.
Absolutely. I mean, and he's probably the best marketing, source of marketing that movie has had. Even
Mhm.
though the movie itself, I don't think people are looking at it as the best of the series. It's money-wise, it's performing like one of, if not the best of the series. So that's always good to
Yeah.
see. And of course, Ghostbusters in a couple of days from now. But the one we are here to talk about today is the American Society of Magical Negroes. So let's talk about that. What did you think about that movie?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I would like to say, as a privileged white person, I understand that me talking about this movie little sensitive. So before we just start off with that, I am gonna say that to everyone. It is my job to be here, and it is my job to review movies. But there was a lot of conversation that happened before the show today because, as a white person, I feel a little conflicted about reviewing this movie because if you guys have seen my out of theater review, I really stand by this. This movie is truly a satirical commentary on racism in America today, meets like Harry Potter or The Order. I feel like this movie leaned into a lot of like fantastical nature in order to try to tell a story of what's really happening in America today. There was So with that being said, I'm going to actually review the movie now. And just, we're going to talk about it flopping and all of this stuff, but I just wanted to sort of acknowledge that before I got started. And I understand that I do not feel like I am the person that should be reviewing this movie, but here we are because this is my job. So, sort of moving forward with that. Okay. There is a New York Times review and article that states exactly how I feel about this movie. And I'm just going to read a small quote from it. So it was Nicholas Rapold, and he said, Smith's nimble performance is such a pleasure to watch that it almost doesn't matter. But it's fair to say that this film could have gone even further with its bold scenario. And that's totally how I feel. Justice Smith is incredible. He is a delight. I feel for him. I want to know about his life, his story. I wish I got to know a little bit more about him. I actually didn't even realize, as I was reading all these reviews and I was doing more research before the show, somebody pointed out that we know nothing about him other than he's an artist and the sort of scenarios that we are given. There's no context about his life other than his mom is white. You get that like in a joke, but you don't hear about his family. You don't get any sort of like real background on his character. But he is such a genius actor. Like truly, he's like the most awkward, like, but in the best way. Like you kind of just want to like give him a hug and like you know what I mean? And I think that's so hard for actors to really impart on an audience is
Yeah.
a feeling of like, I can't stop watching. I love you. I feel for you. I want to cry with you. I haven't had that like with a lot of movies that I've seen recently. Um I also this movie I don't know if this movie was really supposed to be a rom-com, but they do kind of lean into that a little bit. So I think a mixed bag, like what you put on the poster, is really accurate in the sense that this movie was trying to do something really big as far as the social commentary on racism, right? And I do think they sort of watered some of that down in order to make it more palatable for everyone. Um, my movie theater was empty. Granted, I went to go see this movie at 10:30, but it was empty. There were two other people in the movie theater, and it made me so sad. But overall, like a lot of the jokes are funny as hell. Like some of the white joke, like the jokes about white people, I was dead, like rolling on the floor because but I wish they would have taken it even further because I can handle it. You know what I mean? Like so, it was so accurate, it was so good, but I can handle it. Like give it to me. Um and then there were so many other jokes that I wish they just would have taken it even further. Like I just feel like they overall tried to make it a little bit more palatable on that sort of part of the movie. But then you have this rom-com trope, and I feel like they could have even leaned into that more. And then you also have like the sort of fantastical nature of this. I also feel like they ended this movie in a way that they can leave it open to talking about other societies, like the girl, the girl that he's like falling in love with and ends up with. Her character's name is, I'm so sorry. Her character's name is Lizzie. She's played by Onley Bogan. And at the end of the movie, you see her walking into a door, like making a joke about quitting her society too. She's like walking into a door of like the society of supportive girlfriends and wives. So I feel like they're trying to open it up for like another sequel, but also just really like making jokes about the overall like these secret societies that like make up America. Um, but I feel like they could have leaned into that even more. Like so many of those moments were my favorite moments of the movie. But then also his there's a big ending scene where essentially he has like a coming to Jesus moment of like, I am so sick of being uncomfortable in my life because of my skin color. And he goes, and I don't want to say like he goes off. He has like an America Ferrera moment, but his speech to me had more feeling and more life in it than America Ferrera's speech in Barbie. And I was like, oh shit. Like it was so beautiful. It was so well scripted. I just wish the rest of the movie would have had that kind of feeling. Like I feel like this movie tried to accomplish too many things and it took away from it. But overall, I would say that this is a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. It made me think. It was funny. It was the word that's coming to mind is like it had a lot of heart in it, and it really touched on a lot of topics that need to be talked about in everyday society. And I think that's another reason why I really wanted to still talk about the movie. I think it's important. Um, but I some of the reviews I feel like are too harsh on this movie. Some of the reviews I kind of get it, but also I'm like, I mean, it's just it's a movie. I just think people are being really hard on this movie because of the subject matter and because of the everything that this movie set out to accomplish. And I think a lot of people are I don't know. I guess there's a lot of people that like maybe aren't ready for this to be like cannon fodder, like joke material. But then there's, you know what I mean? Like I like this movie. this movie is performing terribly. It's only made $1.3 million its opening weekend. We actually couldn't even find how much money this movie cost. We have no idea what the budget for this movie is, but it is flopping. It is Kobe Libby, I think is how, or do I pronounce his last name Libby? I don't know.
No, I think you're right. That is the way we pronounce it. Let me actually,
So
because
it's his directorial debut. Again, Justice Smith,
yeah.
loved him. I loved the actor that played Lizzie. I thought she was phenomenal. I even really, God, I mean, I hated his character, but I feel like Drew Tarver did a really great job. One of my friends is actually in this movie, and I had no idea until I saw her face
Oh,
on the fucking screen. I was like, "Oh shit!" I literally texted her immediately. I was like, "Oh my god!" So that was really cool to see, and it's also really cool to see because this movie was entirely filmed. Well, I guess not entirely. There had to have been like one or two scenes that were filmed in New York or something similar to it, but almost the whole movie is filmed in Los Angeles. And around as these scenes were popping up, I'm like, oh my god, that's the row. Oh my god, I know that place. Oh my god, I know that girl. So that was like another fun sort of addition to watching this movie, is like getting to support my friends and stuff like that. But yeah, this movie is not doing well, you guys.
no, I mean it's not. It's I mean this is a this is a Focus Features movie, which is the prestige arm of Sony for like the smaller more prestige productions that they want to put out under that label. So I can't imagine the budget for this was anywhere, certainly not over 50 million. It was probably well within that number. But even with that, yeah, you could see the on screen 1.4 million is all it's got. And its opening weekend number was 1.3. It's really not performing well both on the opening weekend but also like on a day-to-day basis. The theater averages are not very good. And that's, I don't know if that's to do with the fact that people just don't know this movie is out there. I really didn't
I
see
really didn't see any marketing materials for this movie.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's very little, to the point that, I was like, "The title is so intriguing, they should have." And the concept is obviously, important, but also you're intrigued by it when you first hear about, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is the movie?" And so, I think I would imagine a lot of people would have been interested. Maybe they just thought that it wasn't gonna be good enough of a movie to put the money behind it, marketing it, because sometimes studios make their bets and, whether it's a
I
good
mean,
one or a bad one,
yeah, that
it
honestly never makes sense to me. It's like if you're gonna spend $15 million on a movie, spend another $1 million marketing the movie. Like what? And
well,
I don't know how
right.
far $1 million in marketing gets you, right?
Well, not a
Math,
mil well,
but
I'd imagine this movie's budget was probably somewhere between, it's a big range because we don't know the number, between, I would say, anywhere from, like, say, 20 million to 50 million, like, that's probably what we're looking at. And then if they were to market this movie, another 15-20 million might have been enough to spread the word.
yeah.
But it's also, I think, they probably thought, "Hey, okay, so,
I mean, but they
directorial
could have even run
debut."
like social media campaigns. You know what I mean? I
Right.
really didn't see anything for this movie. I didn't see a
I mean,
billboard,
yeah,
especially for a movie that's pretty like solely filmed in Los Angeles. You would think that you would at
right.
least see one or two billboards. Like I literally saw buildings and I was like, "Oh, I pass that every day." Like it is filmed in Los Angeles. And
Yeah,
most movies don't have the budget to do that actually. They'll film like a few
right.
core things here and then they'll take it out of state because it gets really expensive filming in LA.
Yeah,
Just with permitting and this and that and the other, you have to shut down roads, you have to like hire the county sometimes like to get police to
it's
help you block off roads.
absolutely.
It's a thing. So they had to have spent a good deal of money filming everything that they filmed here, that I just don't understand why you can't do something. Like I have not heard of this movie, you guys, up until I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. Like I'll go watch it. But also, I do have to say this. I feel like this movie would have probably done better in a TV series format versus a movie. Like, I've
It's
seen so many shows with scripts that were, like, very hokey, but sort of did the same thing and were as enjoyable, like, The Vampire Diaries, gosh, The Order, what was that magical there's so many, like, sort of magical, fantastical TV series, limited series.
yeah, yeah.
I feel like this might have done better in that format, but for
Yeah,
some reason,
I can see
it's
it.
not doing well as a movie.
I mean, this is also so Focus Features is I believe it's part of, is it part of Sony? Let me see. Is it part of Sony or Universal? Yeah, Universal. I mentioned it earlier and
Mhm.
then I completely blanked on it. It's part of Universal, so this could have been a movie that they could drop on streaming like in Peacock. I now this movie is now it's wide. I believe they had a limited run and now it's wide release so you can see it in, most theaters. But they are also looking to bring it to VOD pretty quickly, and so for like about $20, you'll be able to watch it at home. So they're probably hoping that all the people who didn't go to see it in a theater will be
Mhm.
interested. Like Madam Web, didn't even make $100 million at the box office, but it's like at the top of the charts for VOD. Now, granted, that's a superhero movie. There's a Marvel,
Mhm.
brand attached to it, even though it's not MCU Marvel, and even Sony Marvel, they're keeping it away from like the Venom and other Spider-Man stuff.
They're like, "We
But
actually
it's
don't
still
want her anymore. We're just gonna return her."
it's yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Well,
I need to see it.
yeah. It's a movie that definitely is
Didn't you say
underwhelming.
you were depressed walking out of that movie theater?
I
I
might
feel
have
like
said
that's
that.
what I remember you saying.
I might have said that, and that
Yeah.
might have been a true statement. What I will say about this movie, on the other hand, is that when I first saw the title for this
Mhm.
film, I was like, "Wait, are Key and Peele making a movie from that
Oh,
sketch that they
that's
did
so
where it was
funny.
like
Yeah.
Hogwarts in the inner city?" And I
Mhm.
was like, I mean, but then you read about the concept, and I'm like, okay, this is something that there's a really good concept here that can, produce a really good movie out of it. I just wonder if Focus Features was ultimately the right place for this movie to be made and marketed because, for
Mhm.
example, a concept like this, I believe if you had A24 tackling it, they could have gotten much more mileage out of it,
Mhm.
and they seem to know how to market these smaller movies really well, especially through viral marketing campaigns, and, I mean, even Blumhouse, like, those kinda studios where their bread and butter are movies of this scale, and, like, we know the biggest example, of course, were Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I mean, Blumhouse would have made this a horror
The
movie. This was not
well,
that.
I'm talking about, like, in terms of how to manage a movie of this
Yes,
scale,
I agree.
and how to
Yeah.
maximize your returns on it, you know?
I
I just
also
feel like
think
yeah,
either one of
uh,
those studios would have taken a little bit more liberty with the script. I do feel like the script was
absolutely.
really safe. Like, I think
Yeah,
they were willing to make certain jokes, but they weren't willing to, like, take it and run with it.
yeah.
Um, and I think in a way, the movie doesn't accomplish as much as it could have because of that. Uh, but overall, again, like, I still think it's a good movie. It just when I go see really good movies like this that make me think, that make me feel all these different feelings, and that you can, like, really sort of sit in and enjoy the ride, it makes me really sad when people don't go see them, you guys.
I
I
mean,
get
and this seems
sad.
that's the thing, it's like Hollywood makes original movies, it's just a lot of people don't necessarily give it a chance, that's the thing, it's
Yeah,
like, Kung Fu Panda 4 is not really all that different from the previous 3 movies, it doesn't do a lot that the
okay.
previous
It
movies
is
haven't
a
done,
talking fat panda that does karate.
but
How much different can you make it?
well, right. No, but the point I'm trying to make is like people are going to see that movie to the point that it debuted at the top of the box office. Then I think it got taken over by Dune 2 again, and then now it's back. It's like it's doing the best like that any Kung Fu Panda movie has done in like almost a decade.
It really just
So
speaks to Jack Black.
it's
He's a
right,
hilarious.
no, it does, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, I'm just saying, every movie should do really, really well, but what I am saying in terms of, like, original ideas getting the support from the audiences,
Yeah.
because we all want original movies and rather than just IP sequels, prequels, spin-offs, and, comic book-based movies, this is the kind of movie that you could go watch it and, it's original, it's something different, but like you said, I think maybe one of the things that this movie struggles with is they're playing it too safe. They're not going
Mhm.
really out because the concept is so imaginative that you could really, like, just make this something that is completely out of this world. Because I got the feeling that what they were doing with this was somewhere in between Harry Potter and the Adjustment Bureau. And then maybe, like, it was
I
all
did
a
see
matter of
that
whether
Bureau.
you landed more on the early part of the Harry Potter series, or if you wanted to go more the Adjustment Bureau, which was more of a darker sci-fi
Absolutely
movie.
giving the first
So
Harry Potter movie, like, but I and a lot of the reviews sort of talk about this. This movie really does take tropes from so many different the Key and Peele, was it a sketch? It was like one sketch, right? They did
it was one
multiple
sketch.
sketches?
No,
So
there was a one sketch of, like, the like, there's yeah, on the magical Negro, like, yes, but it was
so
commentary on the same kind of thing, you know?
Yeah,
So,
so it's
yeah.
essentially they took all of these different tropes and all of these different ideas and they put it all in one movie. So when I compare it to Harry Potter, I compare it to sort of that um my brain wants to say like the coming of age story of Harry Potter.
Right. Yep.
Essentially
Yeah,
the
the
main
first 3
character,
movies. Yeah.
yeah, Aaron sort of goes through this character growth where you see him like he's he's just like a lonely, sad guy that nobody wants to buy his art, and he's like literally so like timid, scared of like saying anything, and you see it over and over and over again, and he like will not take up space in the world around white people. Like he just won't do it. He like skirts away from them. He like says sorry all the time. He like is constantly apologizing for who he is. He won't speak up. And so you see it reminded me of the first, I mean, Harry Potter, literally like the serving
Yeah.
tray with like he it's very
Right.
similar in the sort of character aspects. So, I mean, this movie pulls together so many things from so many great movies and sketches and ideas. Like I
But it
again,
needs yeah,
it needs something more,
more, right.
but I feel like
It's yeah.
it still deserves a sequel to give it that shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends entirely, I think, at this point, given its box office performance,
Yeah.
which I don't think is gonna get much better because, yeah, you got Ghostbusters, you got the Godzilla Kong movie, and then the summer movie season's, well on its way. So I have a feeling this movie is just gonna get buried. It's just gonna matter how,
Mhm.
at the box office at least, is what's gonna maybe save it is
Yeah.
the post-theatrical distribution, how it performs on VOD, and then SVOD, like, PVOD, like Netflix, Peacock, wherever it ends up, probably Peacock, because it's a Universal Focus Features film. So yeah, we'll see how it does. It just feels like maybe it was missing some of that magic that
Mm.
Harry Potter movie had, or like they like you said, they played it too safe, and I think that might be ultimately what caused it to not do as well as it did. Plus the marketing campaign, maybe the studio just didn't believe in it enough because it only seems that way
Yeah.
based on how much they didn't spend on the movie marketing it. But yeah, I mean, this is it's a good movie if you guys wanna go check it out. I mean, Angelina, would you recommend it, or would you
Yes.
rather they wait?
I definitely think everyone should go see the movie. I think it
Yeah.
will offer some at least good conversation, which is important.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's good. So this is the
Yeah.
kind of movie it's certainly different from anything else you're gonna be able to go watch in the movie theater right now. If you've already seen Dune like 5 times, if you have seen Kung Fu Panda 4, or if you're not interested in those other movies, then this is the one to go check out. Of course, Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire comes out in a couple of days, so we'll be
Mhm.
back this weekend talking about that movie, and then we'll have others like the Godzilla one is gonna be coming out very soon after that. So lots more to come in March, and then April, May. We're in the summer movie season. We're getting there, guys. Thanks again for joining us on the movie of the week. As we always like to say, go out there, watch something in the movie theater, come back and talk to us about it. We'd love to hear from you. If you like what you see here, then like and subscribe. That helps us out. And if you're, watching, then you might as well subscribe. But until the next movie review, it's been great talking to you, Angelina, and we'll
Yeah,
see you
you
here
too.
next time.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.